Disclaimer: the following story explores mature emotional themes, including strained family relationships and personal boundaries. It does not contain explicit content. Viewer discretion is advised. It was just past midnight when the knock came. Not the polite kind you expect from a neighbor. Not the urgent kind you hear in emergencies. This was hesitant. 3 soft taps, a pause, then one more. Like someone standing on the other side of the door wasn't sure they should even be there. I was half asleep on the couch, half watching reruns with a glass of wine in my hand. The kind of night where you've already decided nothing interesting is going to happen, and then everything changes. I didn't expect anyone. And I sure as hell didn't expect him. When I opened the door, there stood Jason, my stepson. 24. Tall, broad-shouldered, eyes darker than I remembered, with that same guarded look he used to wear as a teenager. Only now, something had changed. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept in days. There was a bruise blooming just under his right eye, and his jacket, one I recognized from years ago, was soaked from the rain. We hadn't spoken in nearly 2 years. The divorce with his father was messy. I won't sugarcoat it. After 6 years of marriage, things fell apart in ways I still can't fully explain. Jason had already moved out by then, old enough to choose sides. And he did, just not mine. No calls. No visits. Not even a text on my birthday. So seeing him at my doorstep in the middle of the night? Yeah, it shook me. I didn't know where else to go, he said quietly, barely meeting my eyes. His voice cracked on the last word. I stepped aside before I could think too much about it. The motherly instinct kicked in before the memories could catch up. I let him in. The living room felt smaller with him in it. He stood awkwardly, dripping onto the hardwood, unsure if he should sit or speak or even exist in the space. I offered him a towel and a seat. He took both without saying much. It wasn't just the bruise. There was something else, something in his eyes I hadn't seen before. Fear? Shame? Whatever it wasn't the confident, sarcastic young man I remembered. This was someone unraveling at the seams. I messed up, he finally said, staring at the floor. And I think I'm in trouble. I didn't press. Not yet. His hands were trembling. I noticed the split on his knuckles, the way he winced when he moved his left arm. My gut told me there was more to the story than he was ready to share. Still, part of me didn't know if I could trust him. And part of me hated that I even had to ask myself that. Because while Jason was never cruel, he was never kind either, not to me. And opening that door tonight may have let in more than just the rain. What was he running from? What exactly had he done? And why, after all this time, had he come to me? I didn't have answers. Not yet. But I was about to find out. Whether I wanted to or not. Jason sat on the edge of the couch like it might bite him. He clutched the towel I gave him but hadn't used it. His eyes stayed fixed on the dark TV screen, avoiding mine, like he was scared if we made eye contact, the walls between us would crack wide open. I hadn't seen him like this since he was 16, right after his mom passed. That was the first time he shut down. Back then, he barely spoke to anyone, especially not me. I was just the woman his father brought home too soon. I knew it, he knew it, and we never pretended otherwise. But over time, I tried to earn trust. Tried to become something more than just a reminder that his family wasn't what it used to be. Some days we made progress. A shared laugh. A movie night. A rare conversation that didn't feel like walking on glass. But it never stuck. Now he was back, years later, bruised and quiet, and I was the one unsure of my place. I know I shouldn't be here, he finally said, his voice low. When things got bad, I didn't think. I just remembered this place always felt safer than the others. It shouldn't have meant as much as it did. But it did. I sat across from him, not too close. What kind of bad, Jason? He ran a hand through his damp hair and looked around the room like he expected judgment to come from the walls. It's complicated. Some of it's my fault. Some of it isn't. But it caught up to me. That vague answer made the air heavier. I knew better than to push too hard. Not yet. Instead, I offered him a blanket and let the silence settle. I was seeing someone, he said suddenly, but it went sideways. Real sideways. There was yelling. Stuff got broken. She hit me. And I hit the wall. Not her. But now she's telling people different. He looked up at me for the first time, eyes raw and defensive. I never touched her. I swear. I nodded slowly, not to say I believed him entirely, but to say I was still listening. You think I'm lying. I think you're scared, I said. And I think you don't know who to trust. That hit something. He blinked hard and looked away again. My dad would have just said I deserved it, he muttered. Maybe I do. But I couldn't go there. Hearing him talk about his father like that shouldn't have surprised me. But it did. For all the ways our marriage collapsed, I never thought Jason saw through his dad the way I did. You didn't deserve it, I said, carefully. No matter what happened, you deserve to be safe. To be heard. He didn't respond, but I saw something shift in his shoulders, less tension, maybe. A crack in the wall. I still didn't know the whole story. Not even close. But something serious had happened. Something messy and real, wrapped up in years of emotional silence and unresolved trauma. And whether I was ready or not, I was now part of it. That night wasn't going to end with easy answers or clean resolutions. But one thing was clear: Jason hadn't just come back to a place. He'd come back to a person. And now I had to figure out if I could be that person, again. Or if this was just another disaster waiting to unfold. Jason fell asleep on the couch just after 3 a.m., his body finally giving in, like it couldn't carry the weight of whatever he was running from anymore. I watched him for a moment from the hallway, arms crossed, mind racing. The bruise under his eye had deepened to a sickly purple. His breathing was uneven, restless, like his nightmares wouldn't even leave him alone. I didn't sleep. I cleaned the kitchen. I folded laundry that didn't need folding. I stared at my phone, half waiting for a call that never came, from his father, maybe. From the girl he mentioned. From the police. But morning came with no answers. Just coffee and quiet. By the time Jason woke, the sun was leaking through the blinds, and I was seated at the kitchen table pretending to read the news. He looked worse in daylight. Pale. Hollowed out. The kind of look you get when you've been carrying guilt around like a backpack full of bricks. He poured himself a mug of coffee like he still lived here. I didn't say anything about it. I didn't ask if he planned to stay. I didn't ask what he'd do next. I just watched. Finally, he spoke. I think she's trying to get me arrested. I set my cup down. Did you hurt her, Jason? No, he said too fast. I mean, yes, we fought. She was screaming, accusing me of cheating. I didn't cheat. I swear. But she broke my phone. Threw it across the room. I grabbed her arm to stop her from throwing something else. That's it. I didn't hit her. I swear on everything. There was a pause, then he added, but she's got pictures. Of the bruises. And texts. Out of context. My stomach turned. Not because I didn't believe him, but because I knew how quickly something like this could spiral. Family drama was one thing. But a legal mess? That was something else entirely. Then came the knock at the door. It wasn't timid this time. It was sharp. Measured. The sound of someone who already made up their mind. Jason froze mid-sip, his eyes snapping to the sound like a deer hearing the crack of a twig. I stood slowly. Stay here, I said. When I opened the door, I didn't recognize the woman standing there. Early 30s. Blonde hair pulled tight. She wore a black coat and didn't smile. Her eyes flicked past me, into the house. Sorry to bother you, she said coolly. I'm looking for Jason Langston. Is he here? My mouth went dry. Who's asking? I'm his girlfriend's sister, she replied, voice sharp and practiced. He left some things at the apartment. I came to get them back. It didn't feel right. The tone, the timing, everything about it felt rehearsed. I don't think now's a good time, I said. Her eyes narrowed. So he is here. I held my ground. If you're concerned about your sister's safety, maybe you should speak to the police. Oh, trust me, she said. We already have. That did it. I shut the door, not slammed, but firm. Final. Jason was already standing in the hallway, pale as paper. I told you, he whispered. It's already started. I looked at him, at the fear in his eyes, and realized we weren't just dealing with a misunderstanding or a bad breakup. This was bigger, more dangerous. And it was about to come crashing through my door whether we were ready or not. Jason was pacing. Not the kind of pacing you do to burn nervous energy. This was a frantic loop, down the hallway, across the living room, back again. His hands kept twitching like he didn't know what to do with them. His eyes darted to the window every few seconds. "She's not going to stop," he said under his breath. "She's already got people believing her. Online. Her friends. Now her sister shows up? It's a setup." I sat at the kitchen table, trying to stay grounded. "Jason, listen. You said you didn't hurt her. That's what matters right now. But running, hiding won't make this go away." He stopped mid-step and stared at me. "You think I should turn myself in?" "No," I said carefully. "I think you need a lawyer. And the truth. All of it. Not just the parts you think sound better." Jason looked like I'd slapped him. "I told you the truth." "You told me your version of it," I replied. "But something's not adding up. You had a bruise under your eye. Split knuckles. You were bleeding when you got here." That didn't come from grabbing her arm. He turned away sharply, jaw clenched. "Jason, did you get into a fight with someone else?" Silence. Then, her ex showed up. That changed everything. "He's the one who hit you?" I asked. Jason nodded once. "Yeah." I didn't even know they still talked. But he was there that night. Said I needed to back off. That I was messing things up for her. I tried to leave, but he followed me out. Got in my face. I hit the wall to keep from hitting him. And then she started filming. His voice broke, raw and desperate. She wanted to make it look like I snapped. Like I was dangerous. I stood slowly, trying to process the weight of what he'd just said. Why? Why would she do that? He shook his head. Control. Revenge. I don't know. Maybe she believed I cheated. Maybe she just wanted me gone. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed on the table. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail, but seconds later, a text came through. "You're harboring someone involved in an assault case. Authorities will be notified." My chest tightened. I looked up at Jason. It started. He went pale again, grabbing his coat. "I should go. I shouldn't have come here." "You're not going anywhere," I said, stepping in his path. "This is bigger than pride. If they twist this the wrong way, it's your freedom on the line. You leave now, you look guilty." He blinked fast, emotions choking his expression. "I never meant for any of this. I didn't come here to drag you into it." "But you did come here," I said, softening. "That means something." He dropped onto the couch, burying his face in his hands. "I can't breathe. I don't know what to do." Outside, a car door slammed. We both froze. I stepped to the window slowly. A dark sedan. 2 people inside. One was talking into a radio. Jason stood up like he might bolt, but I held up my hand. "Don't," I whispered. The front doorknob rattled. Then came the knock. This time, it wasn't hesitant. It was official. I opened the door, heart pounding, expecting badges. But instead of the police, it was someone else. "Mrs. Langston?" the man asked. He was older, mid-50s, clean-cut, in a gray suit and overcoat. A woman stood beside him, tall, sharp-eyed, holding a slim leather portfolio. "Definitely not law enforcement." "I'm Martin Crane," he said, extending a card. "Private investigator. This is my associate, Dana." I took the card, confused. "I didn't hire anyone." "No, ma'am. We were hired by someone. But not against you." Jason stepped forward behind me. "What is this?" Crane looked at him carefully. "We need to talk. Off the record." I hesitated but let them in. Jason stayed standing, arms crossed. Dana opened the portfolio and slid a photo across the table. Jason flinched. "That's your ex-girlfriend," she said. "Taken 3 weeks ago. With another man." Jason nodded slowly. "That's the guy. Her ex." "He's not just her ex," Crane said. "He's a known fraudster. Multiple sealed cases for coercion, manipulation, and civil harassment. We believe she's not just covering for him, she's working with him." Jason's face twisted. What are you talking about? She's part of a scam, Dana said bluntly. They target men in short-term relationships, build emotional trust, then stage a public blow-up, sometimes physical. They fabricate abuse claims, collect settlements, or blackmail families for quiet payouts. That's insane, Jason whispered. Crane pulled out a second photo, this one of a check. 3 months ago, another man paid her 25 grand after a domestic dispute. No charges were ever filed. Case disappeared. We think you're next. I stared at Jason. Did she ask for money? He shook his head. Not yet. She will, Crane said. Or she'll let it get to court, hoping your name alone will be enough to force a deal. Jason sank into a chair, stunned. She said I was losing it. That I was dangerous. I thought maybe I did something I couldn't remember. They gaslight their targets, Dana said. It's part of the setup. The air in the room felt heavier than ever. This wasn't just about an angry breakup anymore. This was calculated. Predatory. Why are you telling us this? I asked. Because someone else wanted you to know, Crane said. He slid one final item across the table, a letter. No envelope. Just one page, folded neatly. Jason picked it up, read the first line, and stopped breathing. He looked at me, then back at the letter. It's from my mom, he whispered. I blinked. Your what? He nodded, barely holding it together. She wrote it before she died. But I never saw it. My dad must have kept it from me. Crane nodded. We were hired 6 months ago. By a client who believed your mother's death and your father's handling of the aftermath weren't as simple as they appeared. We tracked down the letter during the process. Jason gripped the paper tighter. Why now? Crane's voice softened. Because someone didn't want you to ever come back here. And now you have. Everything I thought I knew, about Jason, about the night he showed up, even about my late husband, suddenly felt fractured. Jason sat frozen, the letter shaking in his hands. I don't know who I'm supposed to trust anymore, he said. And for the first time since he came back, I didn't either. Jason stared at the letter like it might explode in his hands. His lips moved as he read silently, but no sound came out. Crane and Dana stood back, giving him space. I didn't move either. Some moments are too heavy to interrupt. Then Jason finally spoke. She knew, he whispered. She knew what was happening. To her. To me. His eyes flicked up to mine, brimming with something between grief and fury. He was gaslighting her. Same way she did to me. My father. He told everyone she was unstable. On meds. But she wasn't losing her mind. She was scared. Of him. I took a step closer. Jason, he used to say I had a temper. That I'd get it from her. But it wasn't true. She wrote it all down. The manipulation. The lies. He cut her off from friends. Accused her of cheating. Told me she didn't care about us. He let out a breath that sounded like it hurt coming out. I've been carrying guilt my whole life, thinking I didn't fight hard enough for her. But she was fighting. Alone. And he buried her words. Crane stepped forward. We can authenticate the letter. Submit it with testimony. It won't clear everything right away, but it shifts the entire perception of you. And it raises questions about your father's estate, too. Jason nodded slowly, eyes focused on the paper. She wrote she was afraid he'd turn me into him. She was wrong, I said. You didn't become him. His face twisted. Didn't I, though? I ran. I shut down. I doubted myself. I almost believed I was the monster she said I was. You came here, I said. Not because you were perfect, but because deep down, you knew something was wrong, and you wanted to fix it. That's not weakness. That's strength. A knock rattled the door again. Not firm this time. Hesitant. We all turned. Dana moved toward the window. It's her, she said quietly. Jason stood up, steady. Let her in. I stepped aside, letting the moment take its own weight. When the door opened, she stood there, his ex. The woman who had started all of this. Her eyes were red. She wasn't wearing makeup. No dramatics. She looked around the room. Saw the investigators. The papers. The photo of her and the ex-boyfriend laid out in full view. She didn't speak. Jason did. I know everything. She swallowed, lips pressed tight. You weren't supposed to come here. He laughed, but there was no joy in it. Yeah, I figured. Crane stepped up. You should know, this case is going forward. We have evidence. And if you're involved in a pattern, the courts will see it. Her hands shook. I didn't plan for it to go this far. Jason's voice cracked. You almost ruined me. You did ruin parts of me. She looked at the floor. I'm sorry. Jason exhaled slowly. I'm not the one you should apologize to. She didn't answer. Just turned and walked away. We watched her disappear down the path. No police. No screaming. Just the quiet collapse of something rotten finally exposed to daylight. Jason looked at me, tears threatening but held back. So now what? I smiled, tired but sure. Now we breathe. And then we rebuild. He nodded. And for the first time since that late-night knock, he looked like someone ready to face forward. We didn't talk much after she left. The silence wasn't awkward, it was needed. Healing sometimes happens in stillness, not words. Jason sat by the window for a long time, letter in hand, watching the street like it might hand him the next piece of the puzzle. But he already had it. The real weight he'd been carrying wasn't just his ex's lies, it was years of silence, grief, and guilt passed down from a man he'd trusted. A father who never deserved that title. Later that evening, he placed the letter in a small frame and set it on the mantel. It was his mother's truth, finally out in the open. Finally safe. He turned to me, voice quieter than before. I think I'm ready to talk to a lawyer. Maybe even a therapist. I need to unpack all of this the right way. That's a good call, I said, hand on his shoulder. And if you want, I'll go with you. Every step. He nodded, I softer now. Thanks, Linda. For everything. Hearing him say my name like that, direct, steady, it felt like something shifted. He wasn't a broken kid anymore. He was a man finally finding his footing after years of walking through emotional fog. In the weeks that followed, the investigator helped submit the letter as part of a formal review. While it couldn't undo the damage completely, it painted a different picture, one the system couldn't ignore. Jason's name was no longer just linked to whispers and warnings. It was part of a bigger story, one that revealed manipulation, not violence. As for his ex, she quietly vanished from town after a formal warning. No police charges yet, though Dana told us more victims were coming forward. It might take time, but justice was moving. Slowly, surely. Jason moved into the spare room for a while. He needed stability, and I needed to stop feeling like I was watching him drown from afar. We started doing small things, sharing meals, talking late at night. Nothing deep at first. Just real. One night, he showed me a photo of his mom from years ago, laughing in a garden, wind in her hair. She loved sunflowers, he said. Planted them even when she didn't have a yard. So we planted some in the backyard. It wasn't dramatic. No tears. Just dirt under our nails and something new starting to grow. This wasn't a perfect ending. There's no such thing. But it was honest. Human. And sometimes that's more powerful than a clean resolution. Jason found a lawyer, started a claim against his father's estate, and got a job nearby. He's rebuilding, slowly, on his own terms. And me? I finally let go of the guilt for not seeing the signs earlier. We all carry blind spots, especially when love clouds the view. But I see clearly now. And I'm proud of the man standing in my living room, the one who knocked on my door that night, broken but brave enough to face what came next. Because this wasn't just a story about a late-night knock. It was a story about truth. About generational healing. About not letting the past write your future. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next? Let me know in the comments. Your feedback shapes the channel.